They're sporty, can fit in nearly any parking spot, and they're affordable, both in purchase price and in terms of operating costs. Compact cars, such as the Peugeot 207 or the Sirion from Daihatsu. Both models came onto the market at about the same time, but there are a number of differences. Our test driver will give them both a detailed look over. Which one is the better deal? The Daihatsu, which in Germany goes for about 11,500 euros, or the 207, which starts at 13,650. First up is the Sirion. Test driver Matas Kurat says the steering wheel is kind of far away. Its height can be adjusted, but not the distance from the driver. He can't actually move any further forward because his knees would be in the way. Headspace is noticeably not a problem, though. A car that even tall people would feel comfortable in. What about the rest of the interior? Mata says the interior reminds him of a child's toy car with the oversized buttons, and the workmanship could also be better, pointing out how the flap just falls down when opened. That could be better, he says. The Sirion comes with a choice of 3 different gasoline engines between 51 and 76 kilowatts of power. A 4-wheel drive version is also an option. The 1-liter engine, according to factory specs, should only need 5 liters of fuel for 100 kilometers. But in our test, it was more than 6 liters. Our test driver praises the features on the Sirion: 4 power windows, power mirrors, and air conditioning, even though that significantly lowers engine power when turned on. French elegance versus Japanese practicality. The different shapes of the two cars make it hard to notice that the 207 is about 40 centimeters longer than the Sirion. That definitely gives the Daihatsu a leg up when looking for parking, but more space, especially in the trunk, for the Peugeot. Looking closely, it's clear that the French pay more attention to detail, especially in the interior. On the lower right, fabric in the Peugeot, whereas the Sirion is a sea of plastic. Now it's time for our test driver to get behind the wheel of the 207. First impressions? Mata says the interior design of the Peugeot seems much more refined and more mature than the Daihatsu. There's not as much headspace as in the Daihatsu, but there is more space up front, and the steering wheel adjusts to or from the driver. The Peugeot comes with only 2 power windows. In the rear, you have to crank them. Our test vehicle has a 70 kilowatt 1.4 liter gasoline engine. That provides plenty of power. Fuel consumption is higher than the Daihatsu, but on the road, it's only marginally higher. Next, we see how quickly the two can accelerate on the motorway. First, the Daihatsu. Mata says that on the motorway, comfort takes a back seat. Wind noise is kind of loud. Now at 150 kilometers an hour, the somewhat loose steering does not give him a feeling of safety either. What about the Peugeot? Mata says there's also wind noise in the Peugeot, but even though the steering is soft, it's still not as loose as in the Daihatsu, and just makes it feel safer. But in Germany, that will cost at least 2,160 euros more, and comparable features will increase the difference in prices. Mata says his recommendation is that those who have the choice should skip the Daihatsu and buy a used 207 instead.